welcome folks to this Filmmaker event here.
Roll sound. Cameras rolling.
Hello and welcome to Butter City. My name is Dan Orozco. Our guest today is Emily Goldberg. She's had a passion for documentary filmmaking since she was a segment producer on Newton's Apple. And though she's best known for working with artists, activists, and gender outlaws, a review of her filmography shows that she works without any strictly defined borders. Her work is shown on PBS, the Learning Channel, and Italy's RAI, not to mention numerous festivals around the world. Please welcome to the show, Emily Goldberg. Hi, Emily.
Hi, how are you, Dan?
Good, it's good to see you again.
Yeah, you too.
This is less of an interview and more kind of a chance to sit down and talk. Usually I just see you kind of professionally, kind of in and out and passing ships in the night, so it's good just to sit and chat.
Yep.
I didn't know that you were started on Newton's Apple.
Yeah.
That was kind of an early show for you. And it was kind of in the documentary realm.
Yeah.
So did you know, I mean, and it's kind of, you've always stayed in that circle. So did you know, like, right away as a
Well,
as a
it's
child?
interesting because as a child, in the womb, I knew I wanted to be a documentary filmmaker. No, I was actually an art history major and an archaeology. I was following a path towards archaeology until I actually worked in the field and realized I felt completely cut off from civilization, well, at least modern civilization, and needed more connection with people. So I just started as an intern. You know, I was waitressing at Williams Pub and typing scripts and making coffee for Newton's Apple. So I worked first as a segment producer there in the studio because they were sort of overwhelmed and didn't realize how much work they put down that coffee pot and produce this segment. And then I got to do some pieces in the field. And that's when I realized that's what I really loved doing. I liked being out in the world and connecting with people and being able to tell their interesting stories. So that's kind of how it began.
You know, when I wanted to be a director when I was in film school, I really wanted to be a director. Of course, everyone did. But I always found myself kind of just ending up producing. It just kind of naturally, it just kind of fit. And I kind of found the kind of a pattern in my life when I was just doing make-believe, fun film stuff as a kid that I kind of always was the producer. Were there things about you, were you always kind of an observer of life? Did you think there's some documentary roots in your childhood? I mean, something in your personality that drove you that direction?
I think, you know, my family was always very interested in storytelling. I mean, that was a big part of, you know, sort of gathering around the dinner table and talking about what you did every day and, you know, interesting things out in the world. My parents were very interested and interesting people in themselves. So I think I grew up with a real sense of curiosity about the world. And I just I was always interested in people who were kind of beyond what my experience was. You know, I knew there was more out there. And so maybe that's why I've been kind of gravitated towards subcultures and, you know, stories that are sort of outside of my direct experience. And that's what, you know, that's what documentary film allows you to do, is go explore other lives, other lifestyles, other cultures.
You have an excuse to constantly ask questions.
Yeah.
Is it
yeah.
inappropriate or probing as it might be?
And people will answer. I mean, I remember going on the first shoot where I was just an intern for a magazine show that used to air on Twin Cities Public Television, and it was about love. And the producer, you know, I was just labeling tapes, and the producer was asking questions about these people's, you know, love life and their marriage, and they were telling her, you know, and I just thought, this is an amazing privilege to be able to hear this, and also a huge responsibility to tell this story accurately, you know, to represent these people's stories in a way that reflects their truth, you know?
Yeah. So when you were on Newton's Apple, I mean, it seems like they moved you up because they really needed you.
Yeah.
And then eventually you moved on from there. At what point did you have to, like, just say, I am a documentary filmmaker, or did it creep up on you?
I'm just saying it now. I am.
Did you have to declare it? I mean, to make people believe you at a point, you kind of have to.
Yeah, I mean, it became clear to me that science was an area that was not my passion, and that I wanted to tell stories about, like you said, artists and, you know, people who were very expressive and expressing themselves in different ways. And that led to documentaries where I was like, hey, can I do a documentary about the Minneapolis music scene? It's happening here in the 80s. And they said, yeah, sounds great. You know, so I just started doing them, and luckily there was a lot of latitude at that time to be able to move around and redefine myself within the confines of public television. So I think it was within those years where I realized this is really what I love to do, and this is what I want to do.
But you've also done, like, you did a documentary on Kirby Puckett. I mean,
yeah.
You've been kind of all over the map with these things.
Yeah, and that's what I love about it. You know, you get to dip into different people's lives for whether it's a day, a week, 3.5 years. You know, you're in there, and then you can really intimately, and then you leave and do something else.
I'm done with you. So, we're gonna look at a clip now. Do you want to introduce it for us?
Yeah, I believe this is the Venus of Mars clip. This is my first independent documentary feature that I did after I left TPT, and it's the story of gender identity, rock and roll, and romance, and it's about the lead singer of All the Pretty Horses, who many people here in town know locally, and his, her, we don't really have the pronoun, we don't have the language for this, her relationship with her wife of 25 years, and this is about their marriage and the gender identity issue.
Wow, let's take a look at that.
Yeah.
Here's our engagement picture that my family was horrified by.
That's the glasses.
This is where we were married.
How old were you?
We're 23.
Did you have a big wedding here?
No, actually it was small because we felt uncomfortable being on display, strangely enough. And so we just invited immediate family, aunts and uncles, people like that. Steve laughed during the ceremony.
We even got the priest to laugh.
Song of Solomon is very racy. That's all I will say. I don't think you said I do. I really don't think you did.
It's not legal.
Because you're all like choking.
Yeah, it was pretty silly.
You could probably, do it now here.
Yeah.
Common marriage. Common law marriage.
Common law marriage right now.
Do you take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife?
I think he said that, yeah.
You're bad. You're really bad.
Did you have any inkling that Steve had any gender issues?
No. I mean, I didn't know it was a possibility. That's part of it.
We're having trouble with the brakes, so I just checked them, but they look okay. This is Lynn. I'm going to help her now, because she's got lots of stuff falling down.
Okay, that's all.
Here we go. Come on in. This is our house. This is where we live. So this is our kitchen.
I mean, I knew that he was artistic and tormented in that way, but I found that very romantic, and
Tragic.
like I say, I was naive. I was completely naive. If I'd only known, at least I wouldn't have gotten a joint checking account.
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell her about the internal struggle?
When you're in the throes of love and sex, you think, this is it. Shoot me now. My life is perfect. I thought I got rid of it. I thought it was all cured. Any aspects of it I could keep completely private, or I could incorporate it into my art. That was a perfect solution. Never having to deal with the issue, but still being able to be public about the issue.
Wow, that was a good choice of clip too.
Thanks. I think someone on your staff helped choose it.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure how much you could show on the air.
Oh, it's public television. There's penises everywhere.
Okay.
Look, I just said penis. So, tell me, what became of the film? What did you do with it? It did pretty well, festival-wise, for sure.
It played at 40 film festivals for like a 3.5-year run. So, which is, I think, pretty unusual.
Yeah.
We premiered it at Amsterdam at the documentary festival there, and the band was flown over and played for the premiere in this, amazing Gothic church, and it was really, really great. And it just kind of kept going from there. So it was really a good ride.
Yeah.
And we've been self-distributing it and selling DVDs over the internet, kind of thing, and having fun. And it was shown on Italian TV.
Really?
Yeah, it's the RAI thing.
And was that overdubbed or was it subtitled? Just out of curiosity.
I think they subtitled it. Yeah, I know it's. I do have a subtitled Spanish copy because we showed it at a Spanish film festival, and they gave me a copy, and it was really great to, you know, see some of the things they translated. Like, well, things I can't say on the air, but anyway, yeah.
Well, you know, let's talk about kind of how a film can reach critical mass at a certain point, because I would assume that, I mean, if you've done 40-some festivals, you are not paying the $200 entry fee to get into every single one. At some point, you have enough of a name and reputation that you're getting.
Yeah, it's really interesting because you start off being this peon submitting to festivals and paying, you know, $40, $50, whatever you're paying, and it adds up. And then at a certain point, when it plays at IDFA and when it plays at Silver Docs and when it plays at the San Francisco Gay and Lesbian Film Festival, then people start calling you and offering to fly you places.
Right, and you try to get the screening fees, you can start pushing it the other direction.
Yeah, well, I remember the first time someone said, "What's your screening fee?" And I said, "Screening fee? I don't know anything about this." I mean, the person was, excuse me, really nice about it. You know, I said, "Can you give me a ballpark of you know what I should expect?" And then from there on, I realized, okay, I can actually charge a screening fee. So it was a real learning curve for me. Well,
that's what you know, because going from the festival world, now you're talking about self-distribution, which is such a different ball game. Self-distribution is a real uphill battle, and I'm wondering, you know, saying this was your first independent doc, first one for you, and then did well on the festival circuit. What business mistakes did you make along the way? What did you learn, like on the business end of it? You kind of overcome
track of what you've spent, which I didn't want to do. I kind of didn't want to know. I mean, people ask me, how much money did you lose? How much money did you make? I really don't know. You know, which is no. I just never kept track. So now on the documentary I'm working on now, I'm keeping track of that kind of thing. But I think I was lucky to not fall into any pitfalls. I didn't make any. You know, we got some distribution offers that I think wouldn't have been, and I talked to people here in the legal community about it, you know, and I think they were wise decisions not to get involved with some of those. I think that can be very seductive. You think someone wants my film, but a lot of those offers were not very good deals, you know, and we ended up actually doing better distributing on our own. So that's probably one of the things that I learned.
So did you sort the deals out yourself and kind of look at it just with your own eye, or did you bring a lot of legal help or friends or anything? Did you have any support in that way?
I dealt with Dan Sartorius, who is sort of legal assistant to the filmmaking stars around town, and he was terrific. So no, I didn't want to take those risks because I didn't know enough about it. So I definitely sought advice from people who knew better.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has a good eye for stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
He's a god.
He is.
God among men.
Well, he just makes things sound so accessible to people.
He translates legalese into a language that people like me can, understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So going on from there, I mean, when it's been live for 3 years, did it interfere with other work you were trying to get done? Did you eventually have to say, this has to go away now, I have to move on to something else? Or did you overlap
because it wasn't like I was flying every week somewhere kind of thing. And that's, and that's the fun part too, is when you get to see how audiences respond and you see how moved they are. So it was really gratifying to be able to do as much of that as I could. So I was able to work. Yeah.
We're going to take a look at another clip. Do you want to introduce it?
Yeah, this is something that just aired, that I just finished last year. It aired in the fall on TPT. They hired me to follow the St. Paul Chamber Orchestra on their Eastern European tour. So we went to Budapest and Berlin and Zagreb and all these fabulous places. And this clip is one of my favorite sections where we follow Chris Brown, who's the principal bass player, as he goes to visit Bartók's grave in Budapest.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cemeto? Okay, you know where? Okay. Coming out here is a real expression of priority. This is what means something to me. This is a bit of humanity that blows me away. Bartók was a person who wrote music that electrified the soul. What blows me away is that the complexity in which he writes is really elemental in the end. He went into these hills. He copied folk music. It came from the earth, it came from the mountains. One can play it, but one has to always remember that a real person wrote this, and it's not this magic. I'm lucky, you know, to be in the chamber orchestra. So I came out here to give him my thanks for making me experience the things that he wrote on paper.
But you hear Bartok, you always think like he was dead a long time ago. 1945.
Yeah.
It's not that long ago.
Yeah, he was a modern composer.
Yeah. You know, when you deal with a subject like this, or like a different musical subject, you know, and all the Pretty Horses documentary.
You see a difference?
A little bit.
Okay.
Do you learn a lot about it? Do you get into it? Do you find that it changes you as you experience it, the filmmaking process?
Absolutely. I mean, I think most filmmakers fall in love with their subject to some extent. I mean, you're so in that world, and you're so curious about every little aspect of it that you immerse yourself in it. So yeah, I know that, you know, Bartok's grave was moved. I know all kinds of things that aren't in the documentary that, you know, we don't need to talk about. But yeah, I mean, it's really, and talk about a privilege, you know, to get to hang out with world-class musicians, you know, as they traveled the globe. It was amazing. Yeah.
But I mean, is there a lesson in there for like a documentary filmmaker in general? Like, how do you maintain objectivity?
You know, it's I think in the editing process is where you really can do that, because I mean, there are obviously things that you can't put everything in there, and you need to be able to tell the story as a dispassionate observer of all, you take all the material you've collected, and what is the story you really want to tell here. You know, there was a scene where the other bass player's bass the truck broke down, the van that was transporting all the equipment, and they weren't sure they were going to be able to get his bass to Berlin for the concert that night. And you know, that's a scene that I'm sure he's unhappy that we have in the documentary. You know, where I had to say, this is important. We need to see him being upset and saying, oh, you know, kind of thing, to show the tension of what it's like to, you know, not have your bass from, you know, the 14th century or something make it to the concert at that night. So, you know, I feel like there's always a balancing act between sort of, I don't know, romancing your subjects and being true to the larger truth, if that makes sense.
Well, because that's the thing, you have to get them to be very comfortable with you.
Yes.
And trust you.
Yes.
And give you access to everything.
Right. The good, the bad, the ugly.
Right.
Yeah.
But then you can't pick and choose necessarily based on that relationship either. So it is kind of a tightrope walk.
Yeah, it's a bit of a dance.
Yeah.
And I think if you get people, I think trust is the key thing when you're making a documentary, is having your subjects feel that they trust you enough that they don't have to try to control what they're presenting to you, that you will take what they have given you and be as honest as you can to the truth, you know, and that's the basic trust, and that's what I always try to do.
Do you find there's a progression over time with a subject where initially you're getting direct address to camera and an awareness, and then do they ease up and become more themselves as time goes by?
Yeah, it usually takes, you know, actually sort of this trip, it was like a 10-day trip, and it was sort of, you know, by the end of the trip, you know, nobody was paying any attention to us. So, you know, it depends what the close quarters you are with people are, but you know, it happens pretty quickly that people, if you just say ignore us, and when people are doing what they're really focused on, they can't pay attention to you, and that's when things really start getting good. You know, although some people like Venus, you know, addressed us all the time. That was just her way, and that became part of the story to some extent.
Before? Did you?
I had seen the band perform, and I kind of knew her through art circles, art circles, but I didn't know them well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you get many phone calls after the fact? Like, you've got to take that out. I just saw it on PBS, and I can't believe you did that.
I always make sure that my subjects see the film before it's finished, because I think it's really important that they feel like, not that I'm going to give them any editorial control.
That's my next question,
Yeah, I'm not going to give them editorial control, but I want them to feel comfortable with what they see, and I want to know what they object to, if there is something they object to, because sometimes it's a factual thing, you know, and I need to change it. You know, it's just wrong. It doesn't reflect, you know, what happened. But you know, I haven't had people. Mostly Venus and Lynette said, "You make us look too good." You know, it's like. So I mean, you know, wow, dream film subjects. But you know, most people, I think, you know, it's your film, and they realize that when they signed on, kind of thing.
Sure.
And if they feel included in the process, they're going to be even more comfortable with your choices.
You physically sign something with them before you start filming? Some kind of
Yes,
release?
I have. Well, I sign release forms at the time of the first interview. So if we sat down, we've talked for 3 hours, you're going to sign something and that says I can use, you know, all of this stuff.
Everything.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We're going to do another clip here. Do you want to bring us
This
into
is completely different, just because there's so many wonderful artists in the Twin Cities, and I love doing just free-form art pieces. And this is a piece that I did for public television about Savage Oral Hotbed, which is a local band that likes to use power tools to make music and all kinds of other crazy things. And I saw them perform this piece clad in, I don't know if they were wearing the garbage bags in the performance at the Southern. They might have been. Anyway, it's a Japanese drumming piece where it's called Garbage Drums. And I took them out in front of the Minneapolis garbage burner in the middle of the winter. We all froze our tuchuses off and we made this piece.
Okay, let's take a look.
Wow. Are you scared?
Yes, I am, in a very strange way. That was shot with one camera?
Yeah.
And you just did it like a music video where you...
Yep. Multiple takes.
Multiple takes, and you play the audio for them to listen to, right?
Well, I would like to say that was the case, but actually we were recording the audio live, and we got back to the station and realized that we didn't have it. And so actually I had to bring them in, like do a click track to what I could sort of see, have them record it in the studio, and then resync every shot.
Oh my.
It took me a really long time to edit this.
Wow, I would almost say go reshoot.
Yeah, it was painful.
I mean,
it was really not a good situation, but it turned out fine, and I don't think you can really tell. You know, I just
no, it looks great. And it's weird. Garbage bags look comfortable.
I think I think when it's like I think this was like I don't know 10 below or something. It was really cold. I think at first it's really great and insulating, and then when you start whacking the drums and you sweat, that cold sweat underneath there, not really recommended. So
wow. I know that we don't have a lot of time left, so I wanted to go over a couple of things. If people want to check out Venus of Mars, the documentary film you did, the first one, the clip we showed, they can find that at venusofmars.com.
Right.
And they can still get a copy of that.
Yep.
Cool. And then you're working on another documentary right now, right?
Yeah.
Kind of a longer project?
It's a longer project. Yeah, Venus of Mars took 3.5 years. I'm guessing this one will take probably as long. It's a co-production. Matt Ealing, who's another fabulous filmmaker in town, and I are working on it together. And we're following the case of an animal rights activist who was one of the people who was recently put in prison as a result of an big FBI investigations that are going on the West Coast into the so-called eco-terrorist arsons.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So we're sort of looking at how far should someone go for something they believe in, and how far should the government go in terms of trying to curtail this activity, that kind of thing. So.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, good luck with that.
Yeah, thanks.
And when it gets going, we should have you back, and we'll do a kind of an update and see where things are.
We just finished a trailer, so it's coming along.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, I want to thank you for stopping by.
Thank you for having me, Dan.
We'll probably have you over again.
Okay. I'll come. Thanks.
We want to thank you for watching Butter City. If you have an idea for a show or a comment, check us out at www.buttercity.com.
Support for Butter City is provided by